Welcome back to the Real Couchwives podcast, where we overanalyze all things Bravo.
As Tom Sandoval's lies continue to unravel, so does he.
So today we're breaking down Tom and Raquel's attempt to cover up the Scandoval. So Carrie, in today's episode, we have Tom, who is not trying to make his way out of one, but two lies that have to do with Raquel.
I know. It was not a good episode for Tom Sandoval. Not many of them have been. But yeah, so we see him trying to back out of this whole like Raquel sleeping over while Ariana's away at her grandmother's funeral, which is just like not a good look. Raquel dipped out, but then also dipped out meaning not went home, dipped out to guest bedroom, which...
the couch, whatever dipping out apparently means.
Sure. And then he has an even worse lie that he tries to back out of at the end of the episode, where we find out that when Ariana found out that her grandmother had died, he was at a party that Raquel was also at, and he didn't come home for an extra 2 hours, even though she had asked him to, which is just like, ugh.
I know. It's so awful. Just his whole kind of like way of behaving with her kind of like grieving over the course of this summer. Like the fact that he went out to the Mondrian when like she was grieving the loss of Charlotte. And then he like just like stayed at this party while she was like literally found out that her grandmother had passed away. And the fact that he like stays home when she goes to visit like and like deal with all this stuff for her family. And like,
right? They never talk about that. They're just like, oh, she's there.
Okay. He doesn't need to be there. And I'm like, well, is the excuse that like he doesn't need to be there because he needs to be in like Los Angeles to be like there for like the opening of Schwartz and Sandy's? Because like Schwartz and Sandy's like has not been a subject for like the last 2 episodes. So it's not like they're like there, like it doesn't seem like they're there like working on it every single day. They're like going to the beach, they're going glamping, they're doing all these other things that like is not opening Schwartz and Sandy's. So like what's your excuse for like not going to her grandmother's funeral? Like
I don't know. It is strange that like it hasn't been brought up by anyone. But yeah, this whole thing, honestly, like it's also crazy to me to see that people really have been getting suspicious of the Scandoval. Like I feel like when it all broke, it didn't seem like we'd be starting to see the seeds of it playing out before they had started to refilm afterwards.
Yeah.
But people are getting really suspicious, starting with like Lisa when Raquel sleeps over. And his response to her line of questioning is so aggressive. Like he gets so defensive. He says dude like a million times, which leads to the really nice line of Lisa, don't call me dude.
I'm not dude.
Like
I loved it.
It's just so funny to see him so clearly caught in a lie, because like if it actually was nothing to be worried about, like he would just laugh it off. But he gets so angry and he's just like, oh, like that's like everyone, but like Lisa, everyone sleeps in my house. Yeah. Like it's so normal. Yeah.
Schwartz was there. I was there. It was like totally a normal thing that she just like slept in my house, even though like my girlfriend of 9 years was not there. Like, I don't know why you're making such a big deal of it, Lisa. So old school, Lisa.
I know, like, oh, Lisa. Also, can we just really quickly talk about Ken and who has clearly been fed these lines?
I know.
Like, I feel like they had a teleprompter in front of him.
I know, she like got him to like rehearse it, and he was like sending his like note cards like backstage. He was like, okay, I got this. I can't believe that Raquel went to Sandoval's in the jacuzzi.
You see her like, you're doing amazing, honey. Like Mean Girl style.
Yeah, exactly. You got this, Kim. Oh my god, I know. That was hey, Ken was paying his dues that day, really like making the money,
We had to move the plot along.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I just like watching Sandoval get so angry when anyone like questioned him in any way was so annoying. And he just like, you could see the wheels like spinning, and he just like didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I feel like he used to be better at this.
I know. I think that's it. I think there are too many people that know about this like hookup, because I think Ariana, and I don't want to like blame Ariana for like what happened with Kristen, but like I think Ariana was really good at kind of like towing the line and like understanding like it's just like deny. And Raquel is clearly like not quite as good of like a partner to be cheating with. because she like probably like maybe she wasn't supposed to let it slip that like she slept over at Sandoval's, and she like clearly like was like, yeah, I did just sleep over at Sandoval's. Oh my god, can you hear that?
No, it's okay. There's
Okay.
traffic.
Whatever, living in the city. um yeah, so like I just think that she like just she kind of like let that slip, and like he and Schwartz clearly had the idea that they were like just gonna like deny it, because then they denied it to Brock, they like denied it to James, or he was just trying to be like super evasive by saying dipped out, and
I
like
think
thinking
that's
that
what he
that
was
would
trying to
like
do.
that
And
would cover it. I
I
don't
think he thought everyone would just be like, oh, yeah, she
She
dipped
dipped
out. And then
out.
like they wouldn't question, like they
Yeah.
wouldn't continue that line of questioning. But then everyone's like, okay, so she left. And then
Yeah.
when they say that, he's like, no, she dipped out.
No, she just
Like
dipped out.
to the bed. My favorite is when he's like, no, she dipped out, like she was in my bedroom. I mean my guest bedroom.
Yeah. She was sleeping on the couch. And then like the whole kind of like the way that they then just like were like, okay, well, we clearly like didn't do a very good job of lying about this. So let's just kind of like fill Ariana in at this like glamping thing. And once Ariana's okay with it, like everybody's just gonna like let it happen, right? Like everybody's gonna be fine with it, gonna be chill with it. And so then it's interesting that like later in that episode we have this kind of like confrontation with Ariana, whereas like Ariana is like, okay, well, wait a minute, what is actually the story here? And yet it's weird that her version of that isn't also like, well, what was the story with this whole Raquel sleeping over thing? It's really just about the grandmother kind of like lies about like being at the birthday party or whatever they were at, like the 4th of no
Not
Labor Day. What
even.
is it?
Yeah, I think her questioning more, like at least when she was with Sheena, was more about like, oh, did Katie actually say we're in an open relationship?
Yeah.
Because, but at this point, like you kind of forget, but like Ariana said, like she considers Raquel her best friend. Like she is like, Raquel always stays over, like we're always in the hot tub. Like if I'm just like the piece that's missing here, like that's still not weird behavior.
Yeah.
Because she's so trusting of both of them, which she even said, like she was like, you know, I trust Raquel and I trust my boyfriend. And it's just like, it's so sad. Like they really just took advantage of her so much in this situation. And it's almost not almost, it's also just so shocking that they did this during the time that she was dealing with so much grief.
Yeah.
Even in her confessionals, she's like, I'm not okay. Like I'm really barely hanging on. And it's just so heartbreaking to watch, knowing what we know.
Yeah.
That
Well,
they're just like,
and that's kind of what's so awful about it, right? Is that like she was so distracted by like everything else that was going on in her life that like, yeah, like the last thing that would probably be on your mind when you're dealing with all this like grief is my boyfriend being loyal to me, or is he like cheating on me? Like you wouldn't be thinking about that, right? Like you would be thinking about literally everything else. And
yeah, it's just so difficult. And like
it makes it so much worse though, right? Like it makes it so much worse to like watch these two people like sneaking behind her back, and to have them like acting the way that they are. Not that like there's ever a good or bad time to like cheat on somebody, but like
they're just like hiding in plain sight. Like
yeah,
it's so strange. Even if you think about like Raquel's birthday, I was like, this is
weird.
this is so messed up on so many levels. Like she's having her this like intimate birthday, and you know there's such a small group already, and part of that group is Ariana and Sandoval, whom she is knowing that she's having like an affair with Sandoval, and she's just there, the three of them being like, we're great. Like I just like, how did she even get herself in a place mentally to be in those situations with Ariana, knowing what she was doing behind her back, and like having Ariana comfort her and console her and like buy her Versace glasses.
I know. Well, even when they were like driving up to the glamping, like they were in the car, I had a moment where I was just like, this is so weird. So there's Sandoval driving the car, and then beside him is like his girlfriend of 9 years, and then behind them is like his best friend, and behind that or beside that person is like his mistress. And like it's just so weird how like all these people are like so intensely loyal to Sandoval, and like they're all just kind of like hanging out in this car. Like it just felt so weird and cringe. Like
it's it was just on such full display here too. And like obviously like hindsight's 2020, but like the way that he speaks about Raquel is like is too much. And like I thought actually Lala actually really did kind of hit the nail on the head here when she's like, the way that he's speaking about Raquel is the way that he used to speak about Ariana while he was cheating on Kristen.
Yeah.
And it really was, right? It's like they were best friends and they were magnetic, and like he's just like he gets so excited to talk about her like at every turn, and I guess like no one thought that was weird.
Yeah. And even the way that he like continues to like want to like pump her up like anytime like that they're on this glamping trip, right? Like any opportunity he can to like kind of like stick it to Katie and like pump up Raquel. And even the way that like, I don't know if you like noticed when she was like giving her like little speech at her birthday party, she was like, it just felt like she was talking like directly to Sandoval. Like, and I just don't know if that's like editing or if that's just like us interpreting it like now, but it literally felt like she was just like talking like straight to him.
Yeah. Well, that's
So
actually
fun.
something that I saw come up recently too, online, is a lot of people are like, wait, this is the same girl who cried because she couldn't give like a thank you speech at her engagement. And now she's like, it's because Sandoval's feeding her lines. Like these are not coming out of her mouth.
Or that was a completely made up plot line, and like she's always, because like how can you be like a pageant person and like not have like the ability to talk in front of crowds? Like what are you talking about? You've been doing this since you were like 13.
That's true. That's a good point.
Like I just don't
maybe I mean that's a weird thing to choose to do. Also,
everybody needs a plot line. Everybody needs a reason to get paid at the end of the day, right? Like
that's true. If this, sorry, looping all the way back to the second lie that we have with the
grandmother,
Ariana's grandmother dying, like I mean it's clear that this is true, but like it's really unfathomable to think that her grandmother had died and he chose not to go home and then lied about it. How disgusting is that?
That's just it. He like, and I was talking about this with Scott earlier. I was like, how could you possibly like leave, like if you were somebody's driver, like you like drove them to a party, like you would never leave the party without like checking in and being like, hey, are you okay? Because I'm gonna leave. Like you would obviously do that. So his version of these events where he's like, no, I was taking a poop. I was in the bathroom, and so like this Jason guy like never came and found me. He just left the party. I'm like, he was your ride there, and your version of events is gonna be like he didn't come and find me. Like that makes no sense.
But
like,
also, even if that was true, like can you not get an Uber? Like obviously there's other ways that you can get home. You're in
Southern California. You can even if you're in the OC and you need to go to the Valley, like you can get an Uber. Like Ubers are everywhere in LA. Like
he also like at that point, I really just feel like he got to a point where he didn't even care anymore, because like he didn't even try to back himself out of that very well. Like he was just kind of like dumbfounded and like just stood there being like, well,
he just couldn't figure out where his like what the point was. Like, oh well, I thought that you wanted to be alone.
Yeah,
like,
I thought that you wanted to be alone.
Yeah, when you were texting me that you wanted me to come home because your grandmother had died, I thought that you actually really needed to just be alone in that moment. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and he just thinks like, I think that Ariana has just gotten so used to like being on his side on camera that she's not gonna like confront him in the way that like she needs to in this moment. And so I think that she does kind of end up like dropping it like a lot faster than like she should have, because like, what are you talking about right now? Like this is insane. Like, you clearly lied to your girlfriend. You've clearly like now you have Lala like basically being able to tell everybody that you lied to your girlfriend, and you have no way of like making up from this lie. Like, or your version of making up from this lie is like literally lying to your girlfriend about what you thought that she wanted, when you know that's not the truth. Like, no,
he just can't even keep any of his lies straight. Oh, that was really difficult to watch. And then you could see it starting to, I think like Ariana's definitely starting to see it. I forget what she said exactly, but she said something that was so heartbreaking too, that she's like, I'm always like his ride or die. And it just like, it sucks and it's embarrassing when like your ride or die is not reciprocating that to you. And it's so true. Like, when has he ever been like that with her? And it's just like so upsetting, because like the narrative that he's now trying to say is that she is dismissive of him and she
Yeah.
thinks he's annoying.
Mhm.
When it's just like we have so many examples that show that that's literally not the truth. Like,
Yeah.
she has always been right there by his side, like even when, you know, arguably she probably shouldn't have.
Mhm.
For him, like, that this is the way that he's trying to go with the story is just like shows how like BS it is.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. He keeps on trying to push this narrative of she thinks that I'm annoying, she thinks that I'm unintelligent, and she's also like now like we've seen it like 3 episodes ago where she like she said directly back to him like, Tom, no, of course I don't think you're unintelligent. Like I wouldn't be with you if I thought you were stupid. And like, of course I think you are annoying sometimes, but I think you do that on purpose sometimes, which clearly he does. But then also like I'm sure she also then said like, I think that I annoy you too. Like in the 9 years that we've been together, of course we annoy one another. And so she like the way that she just like fully kind of like addressed all of those things, and the fact that he's still like hanging on to it and like using that as the excuse of like what's wrong in their relationship. And it's just so interesting because obviously what's wrong in their relationship in his mind and how he wants to portray this is that like Ariana is the problem and she's the thing that's wrong in this relationship. And clearly for Ariana, the things that are wrong in this relationship are like Tom not being there to support her as she's going through like these like tragedies in her life, and also like the fact that he's just like, I don't know, he's just completely uninterested in her, right? Like at this point, he's like completely uninterested in her. He doesn't want to spend time with her. He wants to go off and be like a rock star in this like cover band. He wants a girl like Raquel who's like a fangirl, which is insane because Ariana continued to be quite the fangirl for him. Like she was always at his concerts. It's just not enough because she's not the shiny new thing, right? Like it's just
yeah, no, that's
breathe.
like he just needs someone to feed his ego, and when like the
Yeah.
second that he doesn't get that, he pieces out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's really despicable, and I'm really interested to see how he handles the reunion.
Yeah.
Because everything we've seen so far is just him getting defensive. Even in like that new trailer that they just showed where Ariana's like yelling at him and she's like, I don't care about Raquel. And he yells at her for saying that. Like,
yeah,
you have no freaking foot to stand on in this conversation. You shut up and you listen and you sit down and you be quiet. And what you definitely do not do is yell back at Ariana.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, that, and you give up the house. The fact that he hasn't moved out of the house yet like drives me crazy. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why do you? And like even like Jax Taylor's been talking about it. Like a whole bunch of people online have been talking about how like it's just so ridiculous that like he's the one that cheated and he's the one who like refuses to move out of the house. It's just like that's how it works. If you're the one that cheats, you're the one that has to leave. I'm sorry. Those the rules.
Sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have cheated on your girlfriend of 9 years, and you wouldn't have to deal with that. But whatever. Oh my god.
Well,
wow.
oh gosh, sorry. Also, sorry if I sound really raspy and horrible right now. I'm still getting over a cold.
Oh no.
But moving on to another person who is really trying to kind of like backtrack their way out of this whole Scandoval situation is not Ariana, is Raquel.
It is Miss Raquel Leviss. It is indeed.
Yeah.
But before we dip out into that topic, does that work? Dip out? Yeah.
Sure.
Please be sure to like and subscribe so we can come and meet you guys at BravoCon. We want to hit 1,000 subscribers to be able to justify going. So if you just, click that little subscribe button, that'd be perfect.
Yes. And speaking of Vegas, we actually just got back from Vegas.
We did indeed. It was pretty exciting. We were there for about a week, which is a little long. Wouldn't recommend being there for a week if you don't have to be.
Was very excited to come home.
No, but we took advantage to make sure that we saw some of the Vanderpump like highlights of Vegas, which included the Vanderpump Cocktail Garden. Which, Carrie, how would you rate that? How did you feel about that one?
Okay, we actually got there right after like getting off the plane, so maybe that contributed a little bit, but like I was kind of underwhelmed.
Yeah.
Well, I do have to say that we only got drinks, but the drink that I had tasted like pure tequila.
Yeah, it was like the hibiscus margarita, right?
Yeah.
It was like the Vanderpump margarita, I think. So it was like their signature cocktail, but definitely sounded like it was way too strong. It looked very pretty.
It looked very pretty. There's a cake that looked really cute.
Yeah, the cake did look really cute. It was like a rosé cake. I don't know how that works, but that looked adorable. And it was like a cute little like individual portion. Yeah, and then the drink I got was like the English Garden. It was also like way too strong, but Definitely would go back, try a couple different drinks, kind of see how that goes instead. But definitely a nice place to kind of like hang out in Vegas and like
very pretty and like very Lisa Vanderpump. And it was even cool just to go and like we went into the bar just to look at it. We're like, that's the spot where all the ladies had their dinner when like Oliver came.
No, that was the Vanderpump Paris.
Oh man, so nothing even happened there.
No. They did. That's why they did Katie and Tom's wedding. They did it, and then they went to like the Vanderpump cocktail garden.
Right.
But
well, we've seen it in some fashion, but it also makes me wonder, like, do you think majority of their clients are just Bravo fans, or do you think there's like random people in Vegas who just are like, oh, this is pretty?
I'm sure that there are a good portion of people in Vegas who just like kind of like walk by it and think, okay, whatever, like it's a cocktail garden, sure. But I definitely think there's a good portion of us that also like specifically go. Like that's the only reason that Sir's still around, right? Is because of all the like Vanderpump Rules, like obsessives that like keep that place running.
Maybe the goat cheese balls keeping it alive.
Keep Peter Madrigal employed.
Oh my gosh! And then we had another kind of like Bravo moment where we went to Old Vegas, Fremont Street, is that what's called?
The Fremont Street,
it's like kind of terrifying.
It's definitely intense.
And
it's a lot to see, a lot of assaults on your senses.
Yes, and we saw the golden nugget, and like it was so funny. We were walking, and as we're walking, Iris literally stops me and she's like, it's the golden nugget.
We're in a very historic Bravo place right now. We luckily did not go inside just because you know it kind of felt like if we did go inside we'd be able to get like a staph infection or something, and we didn't want to do that. But if you guys have been to the Golden Nugget, or if you've been to the cocktail garden at Caesar's Palace, let us know, because we want to hear your thoughts. If you have any drink recommendations for the next time that we go, we'd love to hear that as well, so that we actually get the right things.
Yes, exactly. And so for those who don't know why we're talking to you about the Golden Nugget, this is
some context.
I mean, I'm sure many know, but if you don't, this is the iconic location of Ariana and Tom Sandoval's first kiss while he was still dating Kristen. And there's kind of like this big reveal where Tom says to Stassi, like, me and Ariana made out 3 years ago at the Golden Nugget, and Stassi's like, the Golden Nugget? That's low, dude.
It's an all-time low. He's like, I love that place. What are you talking about? So, you know, that's the kind of place that Tom Sandoval, at least once upon a time, wanted to hang out all the time. So do with that what you will.
Exactly.
Oh my god. All right, moving on.
Moving right along. Dipping out
of that into the next one.
This episode we have Raquel's birthday, right? Where they go glamping, and as you said, it's like really uncomfortable because she is out with this intimate group, and of that there is Ariana and Sandoval, who she is having an affair with, unknown to Ariana. But what's interesting too, I find, is just like she is continuing on with this like curated story that she has made for herself, that she clearly thought was going to be her like narrative for this season, which is like, I'm lost, I don't know what I'm doing. And she has a lot of breakdowns, which maybe not knowing what we knew, we would have felt sad for, but knowing that she is actively cheating with Sandoval and hanging out with Ariana, like none of her emotional stories are landing, at least not with me.
Yeah, it's definitely feeling a lot like crocodile tears at this point.
And Ramona.
I Ramona singer. Yeah, exactly. Ramona's tears. But yeah, it's just been unfortunate because I think that Raquel really was trying to do something in this season, and I think she really was trying to like create this very interesting story for us as viewers, right? So to watch her go from kind of like James's girlfriend, the evolution of like her like life after James, the evolution of her life after pageants, this like journey of finding herself, the like all the guys that she like made out with along the way. And honestly, I think had they been able to orchestrate this properly and like Scandoval not broken, they probably could have done an amazing job to like build through what happens in season 10 into season 11 when they would have come together. Scandoval wouldn't have been revealed. It would have been like, this is true love, this is the person that I've been looking for. You know, it's unfortunate that like it had to be like at the expense of Ariana, but like, you know, we are meant for each other, we have our lightning bolt necklaces, like we're in a good place. And yeah, so it's just really unfortunate that in fact they just had like a 7 month long affair. They cheated on like their best friend like together, and we found out the way that we did. And yeah, now we're just watching this entire season and being like, this girl, like, what are you thinking? You're so stupid. And like these like crocodile tears of like you kind of like having this whole, oh, I had to decide when I was like 13 years old when I started pageants that I was going to become an occupational therapist, and my life was built out for me from that point onwards. It's just like, what are you even going on about? Like,
Yeah,
no
she cries
sympathy.
so many times this season in her confessionals. She's always crying, and it's just like, ugh. Or her
Yeah.
being like, these are my people, like this is my core group, like they love me. They
Mm-hmm.
love me so much that I'm gonna cheat on their boyfriends,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
without telling them. Like, what is this? Like, how awful of a person are you that you're literally in here in these confessionals spewing this bullshit?
Yeah.
Sorry. Like, it's just like, and then crying and hoping that we feel sad for you. Like,
Yeah.
ugh, gross.
I know. It's so annoying. And the thing is, like, I hate it because I feel like I would have fallen for it had Scandoval not broken. I think that's what kind of like most upsets me. Is I
We had
really
started to at the beginning.
I
We were
I
like, oh,
was.
she's just lost. I feel
I
sad for
know.
her.
I was like, it's got to be hard, like all this stuff. And it's like, oh no, you're actually just a horrible human being. Like, how
I
dare you do
mean,
this to Ariana?
yeah, like to be fair, she clearly is lost. Like she clearly is going through
Yes.
something, but
Yeah.
like she's still made this was a conscious choice that she made over and over and over and over and over again.
Hmm.
And to quote, I feel like a lot of people at this point, Ariana said it, Katie said it, like this is a
Hmm.
character flaw. Like this is
Yeah.
a personality trait.
Yeah. Yeah. And to have Katie like point it out in this episode too, when Ariana confronts Katie about kind of like the open relationship
Oh
rumors,
yeah.
and for Katie to be like, how is it possible that this person, and this isn't verbatim, but whatever, this person like can do all these awful things to all these other people, but not do them to you, right? Like if this is kind of who she is with all of us, why would she not be like this with you guys too?
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh God, I really wish somebody had listened to Katie or Lala in this moment. Like,
It's just wild. Like the way, like, I feel like Raquel thinks that the audience is so stupid because she is like telling this story that is completely different than what we know is happening. Like, even the
yeah,
Schwartz thing makes sense now.
yeah,
Because I remember we were talking about this too in an early episode where like the reason that she says she likes Schwartz is because he's always happy to see you, to see her. We're like, that's so like no
makes no
wonder this thing
sense.
had like no chemistry and was super random and like they couldn't even explain why they liked each other because they
Yeah,
didn't.
they didn't. They just were like, hey, let's make up for cameras. That'll be fun. Even this whole like way that Raquel is portraying like Terry, who's Katie's mom, like, and the interaction between like Terry and Raquel. I don't know if you've seen the preview for next week yet, but like literally Charlie and Raquel go out like shopping or whatever, and Raquel says that like Terry like blows her off and gives her the cold shoulder like when she's like with Katie and stuff. And I'm like, I think that's a bit of an exaggerated version of exaggerated version,
Exacerbated.
whatever, one of the two version of those events. And it's very much what Raquel said about Terry and Katie when they were in Las Vegas, and how like when Raquel like came back to Sheena and said like Terry was like so mean to me, she was so awful. And then Sheena obviously after the fact, now that she's like seen the episode, she's like, yeah, it's completely different than what she had told me it was. So like clearly like Raquel's like version of events and like how she's kind of like trying to get people to have sympathy for her by like demonizing what Terry and Katie are doing is just like very calculated,
Yeah,
and really really uncool.
it's totally calculated. Just
Team
like
Terry.
everything that she's saying is just like the fact that the story she's trying to go with is like this whole sob story and how she like found her like people and like this is what you do to them when you have friends and you have people who accept you. Like they actually were your friends and they did
Yeah.
accept you.
Yeah.
It's just like
That's
it's
just it.
so crazy.
And I think any of these people would have been your friend. Like Raquel, sorry, Katie or Lala would have been friends with Raquel, right? Like she has all these people that she could have been friends with and they would have like forgiven her, but like the way that she just kind of like continues to go like further and further under like Sandoval's like spell or whatever, like just ensured that like they could never be friends with you and you could never be friends with them, and like you've missed out on a bit of an opportunity here, because not that I think like they're best friends, but still.
Even without Sandoval, like Katie and Lala were actually open to giving her like a shot.
Yeah.
And then she did everything with Schwartz, and like not to go too far into another direction here, but like the storyline with Schwartz is actually like so much more horrible now that you realize that it wasn't true, because she blew up this divorce relationship for literally nothing. And like the just things that she's that she's been saying to Katie are so terrible. Like the fact that she just has no regard for their relationship, and she keeps saying that like Katie's overreacting. Even this episode, she's like, I'm sorry, anyone who's like blows up early or is like really mad about a kiss, like you have a problem. It's like, these people they keep trying to like make it seem like it's just a kiss. Like it wasn't about the kiss, it was who the kiss was with. Like like it doesn't take a rocket scientist.
No, you're trying to like minimize everything when like literally we saw like Katie have like multiple conversations with Raquel and Schwartz both together and separately, being like, don't do this, like it's gonna hurt my feelings, I'm telling you that right now. And now both of them are just being like, I don't know why Katie's so upset, but neither of them is like, well, maybe my like solution to Katie being upset should be to apologize. Instead it's like, well, Katie's just crazy and like I don't like her, she's an awful human being, I'm so glad I'm not in her relationship with her anymore. Like it's just,
well, even Sandoval, like he's still talking badly about Katie, and like it's like for him to
I know Schwartz is finally divorced and free of her, okay, like don't worry about it, you don't need to still hate her the way that you do.
He's like, Katie's so entitled. It's like, you're gonna talk to like, you're gonna say Katie's entitled? Like, are you serious, dude? It's just like, it's kind of funny to look back, seeing this story that Sandoval and Raquel have been telling, just like really thinking they weren't gonna get caught. Like clearly they both had just like this level of ego and like hubris to think that they were gonna pull this off. Like they probably are like, they're laughing. They're like,
well, and they are, because look at how close, like look at how far into the season they got without it being discovered, right? Like if we think about the timeline of like when this is about to end, like this is going to end this week, right? They're going to have something about her party, it's going to wrap, and that's going to be the season. Like they are literally so close to this being actually done. Like they're a days away from filming being over, so of course they think they're getting away with it because they have so far.
That's true.
It's wild.
How long like do you know the timeline from like when filming ended to when this came out? I guess pretty short, right? Because they were able to pick the cameras back up.
Filming ended in September.
And we found out in like
March, yeah. So they got a long way with it for a long ass time.
I just wonder how it ended, because like there are like, this is in the universe now, like, right? Like this last episode, we see that like people actually were starting to catch on to the Scandoval.
Yeah.
Did they just let that simmer for like a few months, or like how did it just like end?
It just, I think, how did the season end?
Like, how did like, because right now people are kind of suspicious.
Yeah.
Did they just like not talk about it anymore? Like, did they just not bring that up?
Yeah, I think when the season wrapped, they like all just went back to doing like their daily lives, and they just like didn't interact with one another. And, you know, people were just kind of like, okay, well, I guess if it's not like on the storyline, like they don't think that it's worth pursuing, like it seems like Ariana is happy and doesn't think that anything's happening here between these two people. So they just wrapped it up and they were like, well, that's our season for this year.
That's true. I also think that because Ariana was going through so much grief, like I also think that kind of contributed to no one like wanting to bring it up to her unless they knew for sure. Like I wonder if all this hadn't happened to her, if they would feel more comfortable with her like kind of mental state to be able to bring this up to her.
Maybe, but they also just didn't have any other proof, right? And like Andy said on his radio show that like he's asked production, and production was like, honestly, like we were taking a lead from Ariana, and Ariana didn't think that anything was happening, so we were like, okay, well then there's nothing for us to pursue. So yeah, maybe they're just like passing the buck a little bit on that one. But I mean, you know, if they didn't have any footage, and honestly, I think if they like had, because obviously production can't really get involved. They can kind of like have ideas, they can have hints, but they can't like get fully involved. They can't let things slip. So if they didn't have footage to show, they didn't have proof of anything, they didn't have a reason to continue to follow this story, then they just have to like wrap it up and wait for next season, right?
True.
I know it is crazy though.
I didn't expect to be seeing the starts of it come out. I also wonder how much they edited. Like this whole voiceover with Lala being like, okay, let me tell you what happened.
Yeah.
That couldn't have been in the original cut, right?
I'm sure that's not in the original cut. Because even the I don't even think that the whole Tom, Ariana, and like the grandmother, like whatever storyline was gonna be in it previously in the season. I think that they added that in. I feel like they added that in as a plot line this like recently, because I don't think that was going to be part of the original edit.
Yeah, because also like it was just so different than
everything else,
everything we've ever seen on Vanderpump Rules. Like we've never had someone basically voice over a series of events, and then they just like put snippets together to like paint that story,
to bring it. Yeah, exactly. I think that was them kind of like camouflaging it together so that we could have kind of like a more of a built-out version of the events.
Yeah. Do you also think that scene with James and Lala, where she straight up says, I think something's going on, was filmed before?
No, I think that probably was, because that's when they released those like pictures and stuff of the Give Them Lala like photo shoot. But maybe you're right. It very well could have been an actual like just refilming, right?
Did she, it's just like, what did she blatantly say that already?
I don't know.
And didn't bring any of that up to Ariana. I don't know. It's so wild. Like what a crazy freaking ride. We need to have like a documentary on this. Like
I know. We do. We need a documentary on the making of season 10. If only. All right. Well, let us know what you guys thought about this most recent episode and kind of how you're feeling about Tom and Raquel's attempts to cover up the Scandoval and all of this. And yeah, can't wait to talk to you guys next time. Bye.